Well, that's actually an awesome segue, dude. Let's talk about maybe we shouldn't, but we should. It'd be good to just talk about what's going on with. I think this connects up to what you were talking about earlier with the Joker and the clown and etc. And the maybe I don't know if it does, but that turning or the flip idea. It seems like so. A matter of months ago, just in 2019, we had. And then even going back further in the States, we had this Trump election, and he had a number of things he said, but one of the primary things he was campaigning on was this build a wall, like borders. And the borders weren't just there uh, arbitrarily. His justifications for it were we need borders because of protecting your job, your livelihood, your home, all these. And some things he said were gross, obviously, but anyway, this is the idea: is build this wall and a border. And then a matter of months ago, we had politicians in the States and on the Democratic side almost trying to one up each other on who could be the least border, like
Yeah.
anything to do with a border was just a covert or overt sign of your racism, etc. Right? So, and they were, but now it's fascinating. We've almost flipped where conservatives in respect to COVID and the lockdowns are saying no borders. I don't want a border on my home. I don't want a border on my body. I mean, some are there's reasonable.
Yeah. Well, some are saying that. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to wear a mask. It's not a medical decision for them. It's almost a philosophical decision.
Exactly right. Yes. Yeah. There's a mental either this a tough guy thing or it's the just I don't trust or believe it or whatever they're thinking. But there's no borders, right?
Yeah.
So they're rejecting borders of themselves. I want to go to work. I want to travel. I want to get out. And then on the other side, it's borders at every level. Borders at the home. Borders at my car, my face, and my mask. And it seems like a total flip from honestly what they've been saying for the last 4 years, right?
Yeah.
So what's go? Is there something there symbolically? Like, how do people flip like that in a matter of a moment? There's a lot. I'm not saying for you to solve the world's problems, but give it a go.
There's a manner in which this. I've been thinking about this intensely, so I might not give you the final answer to this because obviously, yeah. There's a manner in which something, when you push something to its extreme, it becomes its opposite, and you can see it. The image of the caduceus, like the image of the snake that goes up the pole, like you see it in Genesis, but you also see it in mythological figure. And so it has to do with that. It has to do with when you have to imagine the snake going up like this, but you also have to imagine it going like this, like coiling up the pole. And so it's a cycle. And the cycle is when something reaches its extreme and then becomes its opposite. And so you can see that happen in politics all the time. And I think that this is we're seeing very accelerated versions of this, where the let's say the left hand of permissivity all of a sudden becomes extremely rigorous and totalitarian, and so you can see it happen that way. And you can see, so I think that that's what we're seeing. For sure, there is something about the border and equality that is related to the way that the left has been portraying the COVID situation. And so the way that more right-leaning people will have a border is closer to the notion of identity, which is that we need a border around our identity. And so we're a country, we want a border around our country. And that, for people who have been kind of radicalized to think that all identity is evil, or that all identity with power is evil, especially, then that is a problem. It's like, no, we can't have a border around our country because it manifests our identity with power, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're able to equalize borders, so everybody's equally closed off, alone in their room as much as possible, then all of a sudden it fits their perspective, which is that we massively want borders. We just don't want hierarchical borders. We want equal borders.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's something like that. It's because you're right, but it ends up playing out mythologically. It doesn't play out medically. That's for sure. There's none of the decisions. Very few of the decisions that have been taken have been medical. That most of the decisions that have been taken have been continued to be narrative and philosophical. And so, because you could imagine that easily, that you could enforce the idea that, well, it happened nonetheless. Like, especially like here in Quebec, we saw it where some regions who just didn't have any cases or had 2 or 3 cases, at some point it became absurd for them to be locked down inside themselves, like
Yeah.
that everybody is social distancing, and then, well, no, just close the road, don't let anybody in, right? So that we can just keep living our life. So it ended up happening that there were hierarchical shutdowns anyways, but
Yeah.
the narrative of having everybody social distance all the time, and and also it became a weird form of virtue signaling, where somehow wearing a mask is, if you don't wear a mask, it's almost immoral. Like, it's not just
And
it
then the
becomes narrative.
inverse of that, of like the if you wear a mask, you're well, you're not. It's not just masculine, but you're not a man or whatever it is. You know, it's like you're a coward if you wear a mask. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're a coward if you wear a mask, or and at the same time you are killing people if you're not wearing a mask.
hmm
And so then you have Trump, who says, I'll never wear a mask. And then you have Biden, who wears a mask, like he could wear a mask in front of the camera if he could. Like he'd wear a mask just to show that he's wearing a mask. And so it all becomes posturing and
no, but
narrative.
narrative, right?